Yekaterina, happy birthday, Enoch said in a gleeful tone, hugging her as if he missed a child of his own.
But it's not my birthday.
Oh, we know, but we wanted to throw you a small celebration, he said.
Well, thank you. I feel at home already,
Katerina said gleefully. As you should, Enoch smiled. Where is your mother?
She stayed home with my father. She made something for you and the family. She told me not to tell anyone.
She's darling, your mother. I wish she had come with you, Enoch expressed.
She wanted to. Her eyes and her voice told me.
Tell your father to take a break and bring your beautiful mother up to visit. We do miss them. Enoch's blue eyes looked like he was reminiscing. Katerina caught his eyes in the trance and let him relive the moments. And then they glimpsed sight of a young man whose hair was ruffled, much like Enoch's, but didn't hold the salt and pepper and instead absorbed the yellow of the sun. His eyes nearly matched his hair as they dashed over to Katerina's. Uriel! Enoch shouted through the crowd of people within his abode. His sons seemed to be drawing circles with the light of his pen, one within the other, and then washed it away with a wave of his hand, letting the particles of light dart away like sparks popping from a fuse. "Hello, little Tulku," he said playfully to Yekaterina. She smiled at him with sisterly affection.
"Hey, big brother, been a while. Didn't know someone so famous was going to be here," she teased. "And who could be more famous than the Tulku? And don't let my sister hear you call me brother. She might get a little possessive."
He gave a wink of his yellow eyes with a smirk across his face. The house was filled with an orchestra of Kashinatis, coloured in hues of soft pinks and blues, with faces of merry cheer painted rosy red. Feet tapped and moved to the beats of music that encircled their ears, and then the sounds began to hush and the lights started to fade. An angelic voice began to sing a song of birth and life, and Katerina watched in awe as the tunes left the tongue of Eri and reached the drums within her ear, lighting up her heart with sisterly amour. Yekaterina grinned from ear to ear as Heiliger brought out a blue-layered cake with white frosting tracing its edges in flowers and bows. Holding up each layer was a hollow spire, and attached to the spire, unlit sparklers.
"Happy birthday, dear. You remember how to play, don't you?" Heiliger asked. "A reminder wouldn't hurt," Kat said, slightly embarrassed as she had seen it a few times before. "In each layer there is a sweet. One is tart and sour, and if you get it, your wish will not come true. The other is sugared and candied, and if you choose this sweet, then your wish will be granted. The last confection is neither sweet nor tart, nor bitter nor toothsome, but is without flavor. And if you select this candy, you only discover its true flavor once you see what you desire."
Yekaterina closed her eyes, dreaming of what she wanted most in life. She let her emotions consume her heart, but did not express them outwardly. Katerina moved the light that was around her, waving its aura around the room, weaving its way through the crowd, much like a needle moves the yarn through fabric. The light found its way into the cake, making the frosting illuminate a blushing pink. As it reached the candy she desired, the light forced it up the spire that held the layers together, lighting the sparklers as it passed them, and as the candy exited the spire, so too did the light, filling the room once more in its delight. Yekaterina grabbed the small treat with her delicate hands and consumed it. She looked about the room as all eyes were on her, looking for her to say something. "What is it?" someone shouted. "Was it sweet?" another voice asked. "Was it sour, Katerina?" Another question rang in the room.
"It was," Katerina began to say. Now, you know she cannot tell," Heiliger intervened.
The celebration resounded through the late hours of the night, until the chuckles began to turn to yawns, and the smiles made into expressions of exhaustion. Yekaterina hugged and thanked every person that had attended the party as the fire faded with the convivial atmosphere. The long day made for a tired but happy soul, as Kat reminisced with the Framsin family. They talked until nothing in the fire was left but smouldering coals that gave little heat but charming surroundings.
Well, Kat, I'm off to bed. I'm so glad you're here. I'll see you in the morning, said Heiliger in a comatose inflection. Come on, Enoch. Time for bed. She shook his shoulder as he lay with folded arms pressed against the table, with his head nestled comfortably on top of them. I wasn't sleeping. I was just resting my eyes, he said groggily. You're not fooling anyone, said Heiliger as she and Enoch walked arm in arm to their room. Uriel stood from his chair and stretched his arms high into the air. I'm off to bed too. I've got a lot of work to do this week. Good night, Uriel, the girl said in harmony. Good night, he said, leaving the room with a wave of goodbye. Eerie and Yekaterina were the only two left at the table, and only the flaming hearts of a few candles lit the room. So, Kat, what did you wish for? Eerie asked once she was sure everyone was gone. Yekaterina hesitated for an instant. Oh, come on, it's just me. Please, she begged. Kat looked at her with amusement. I wished for the war my father sees to never come, she said, removing the joyous feeling that still enveloped the room. It's scary to see what is happening, and I don't feel like I can do much to help. I've been training since I was 5 years old, and still I feel that whatever my destiny is, I'm not ready for it. She looked down at her empty mug, circling her finger around its edge as the room was void of sound. Kat, Eerie spoke gently, I know our fathers have this vision of bleakness, that the world cannot yet see, and if what they see is true, then you have no reason not to be scared. She paused to gather her thoughts. You are an amazing person, and I've never seen someone so skilled in all my life. The things you can do make me feel hopeful, and if this world is to be consumed in a fog of despair, I know you will always be there to push away those clouds of darkness and fill the world with light. Yekaterina looked up from the table, grateful for her friend's kind words. I couldn't ask for a better friend than you, Eerie. Nor I you, Kat. Should we head off to bed? Eerie asked, with a small yawn escaping her mouth. A soft bed and a warm shower sound astounding. I feel in clover just thinking about it. Yekaterina basked in the thought. Come on, little Tuku, let's get you to bed. Eerie grabbed her hand and walked Yekaterina to her room. The shower is here across the hall. Of course, you already know that. And here is your lovely, enchanting room. Kat looked inside and saw moonlight shining through the window, spotlighting the bed with soft white sheets and feather-down pillows. The foliage within the room let off a soothing bloom of bioluminescence, filling the space and giving ambiance to dreams and fantasies. Eerie gave her a kiss on the cheek, leaving stains of her lips upon them. Good night, Kat. Love you, Eerie said with adoration, leaving Katerina to herself. Good night, Eerie. I love you too. Katerina walked across the hall, closed the door, and dropped her clothes to the floor. She turned the knob of the shower, letting out the water that echoed like rain springing off the firmness of the stones. Kat allowed it to run over her, letting the dust of the day descend through the drain as the heat of the shower enveloped her soul and cleared her mind. She turned the knob to cease the water from abrading her body and sat on a stone seat attached to the shower wall. She gathered her hair, pulling it to the back of her head, and drew the water out of it. The water she pulled from her hair now sat in her hands in a ball that spun like a slow-moving dreidel, and let the water slowly flow from her hands like a river moving down the stream and vanishing into the abyss of the conduit. She then waved her hands over her body, collecting the droplets that rested upon her skin, until once more she formed an orb of water, and that too she guided to its destiny. Relaxed and reposed, she dressed herself for the night in pyjamas made of silk, and knelt to the ground with folded hands upon her bed and prayed. The moon above seemed to shine brighter, as if to give her a stage as she talked to her Creator. And she too seemed to glow, eclipsing the light beaming bright white. Haloed she was, angelic and content.
She did not ask for her wants and desires, only for the Maker's help, guidance and strength, for light and grace on a future unknown to her, but only known to her Creator. It was not her heart that gave passion to her voice, nor was it her mind that granted reason to her thought, but something within the body, never seen but always felt, a link between dimensions, known to all as the Spirit.
Amen,
Yekaterina whispered, unfolding her hands and rising from the floor. She pulled the cotton sheets from the bed and wrapped them tightly around her small frame, placing her head upon the gracious touch of the downy pillows. She shut her eyes, and her mind wandered in the immensity of dreams and fantasy held within the tangled web of light that travelled through the cerebrum. The sun balanced itself on the line between the earth and sky, bestowing brilliance and life unto the land. Its radiance passed through the droplets that tumbled down the falls, and beamed the beads that trickled down the floating boulders, brushing a palette of colours across the canvas of the world. Yekaterina's long strawberry blonde hair waved down the trim of her back and shimmered as rays of light reflected from it. Her dress was a powder blue with a white ribbon that circled her waist, highlighting her toned calves that glistened like silk. Swinging from her ears were doves of powder blue that held within their grasp an olive branch, and resting upon her wrist was a bracelet lined with white poppies. She was radiant and elegant, her mind determined, her heart steady, eager for the struggle of the day ahead. There came a loud thud and the sound of glasses shattering, sliding its way around the floor.
"Are you all right, Uriel?"
Katerina asked.
"Oh, he's fine. I think he was too busy looking at you instead of watching what he was doing."
Heiliger smirked.
"Mother, please, she's like a sister," he said. "That does not mean she isn't beautiful."
"That's not what I said," Uriel retorted.
"Do you need any help cleaning up?" Kat asked.
No, I'm fine. Thank you, he said. Katerina could see Uriel's work spread across the table.
"What are you working on? I saw you drawing circles within circles last night. Is it another new invention?"
she asked with a bit of wonder in her voice. "Even better," he said with excitement. "I'm on the verge of discovering the theory of everything." Katerina looked slightly befuddled.
"What does that mean?"
she asked. "It means what it means. This theory could tell you how everything in the universe is made. It is the mathematical formula of nature and the answer to the creation of life," he answered.
"Well, the Spirit created life for the universe,"
said Katerina. "Then this will tell you how he did it," he said as he picked up the last sliver of glass from the floor.
"Good morning, family,"
said Erie as she walked in the room with fluid steps that tapped the floor soundlessly.
"My goodness, Katerina, don't you look spectacular?"
"You already saw me this morning."
"I know,"
she gave a wink.
"Your hair is gorgeous, by the way,"
Erie continued.
"This Avengler girl styled it for me. She's just the best."
Kat played along.
"Oh, what is her name? I should start going to her,"
Erie said in a coy voice.
"I think her name was Erie. Very talented,"
Yekaterina giggled. "Way to pat yourself on the back, Erie," Uriel interjected.
"Be quiet, you,"
Erie hissed in a friendly tone as she sat down at the table.
"So, is this your office on the breakfast table?"
"I'm just finishing up, sweet sister." Uriel rolled his sun-kissed eyes at her.
"Where is Dad?"
"He went to bring the Floyeg to the front," Uriel informed her.
"I missed flying in those crafts. They're so calming, like floating on clouds," Kat said.
"They could use a design change if you ask me. They are not the best in poor weather conditions." Uriel gave his 2 cents on the subject. Katerina and the family heard the front door close, knowing Enoch had just returned from getting the vehicle.
"Brrr! It's awfully chilly out there this morning,"
said Enoch with flushed red cheeks and a cherry nose.
"I hope you brought the coat, Kat."
"I did." Yekaterina nodded.
"Son, that was a brilliant idea, adding the orb to produce a cover over the Floyeg."
There was relief in his voice as he spoke.
"We won't be frozen by the time we get to the ministry."
"Any time, Dad," Katerina and the Framsins ate a small breakfast at the table before she, Enoch and Eerie headed to the ministry. As they flew on their brief journey, Enoch sparked the conversation. "How are you feeling, Kat?" The sound of his voice was genuine. "I'm ready." "Good. It's going to be a real battle today. I'm ready to sign, but I'm not so sure the ministry is willing to go along." "I'll do what I can to convince them. Do you have any advice?" she asked. "Be prepared for a no vote," he said somberly. Katerina didn't say anything but let the words of Enoch sink in. The rest of the flight to the ministry building was silent. Only the whispered words of good luck were spoken as Eerie separated from Kat and Enoch to take her seat in the Hall of Ministers. As the clock sounded the 10th hour of the day, so too did it sound the beginning of deliberation to the echo of the gavel Enoch slammed onto the base, hushing the room into silence. He stood from his seat and greeted his countrymen below. "Good morning, ministers. We are gathered here today to negotiate a treaty between Landavengler and Yisra. The Tulku will be representing the nation of Yisra, and is here with the treaty her father and I created. You have had some time to discuss and think heavily on the matter, and now today you must vote. However, before we do so, we will hold a discussion to clarify key issues within the treaty, so that when you throw your vote into the ballot box, you can do so with a clear conscience, full of the truth." Second after second ticked, moving the minute hand until the hour struck 11. Fuming minds that boiled like water gave heat to the discussion. "We do not want a war, Enoch," said a minister with a steamed expression. "You will not take our ships, our fleet. This treaty is at the cost of the nation." Drumming fists and feet boomed across the room in agreement. Olaf, with pipe in mouth, blew clouds of smoke into the room as he stood and slammed his cane upon the desk that was before him, making sure all eyes were on him. "You people are mad. You say this treaty is at the cost of the nation. Pray tell me how, for I know, and I know you know, deep down in that dark soul of yours, to not sign this here today will indeed cost the nation. It will cost us everything." Yekaterina could see Olaf's temper was quite unfriendly to those who challenged him, but she believed in this matter that he was indeed right. "We have been far too lenient on Holle, and we have watched them break rule after damned rule." "Shut your mouth, Olaf. You and your foolish friends are warmongers. You got your power from war, and that is how you plan to keep it. By charging it at the cost of our great men and women. Shame on you." A tall, skinny Engelelf by the name of Democrates gave challenge to Olaf's thunderous voice. Olaf looked at Democrates as if he could kill him right there in the Great Hall. "Shame on me? You should mind your pride, Demo. And a lot of you. You're all weak, every one of yous." His face now beat red. He took his seat and brewed some more in a low voice. Ding! The time struck high noon, and the room was at a hush. A voice yelled from the back, filling up the hall. "Vote! Hear, hear!" the choir of ministers shouted, knocking their fists onto the desks. Enoch hammered the sound block, quieting the ministers' great hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, you have 30 minutes to cast your vote. To pass this treaty, we will need over a 3/4 majority vote. Please choose wisely, for the fate of our nation may very well be in grave danger." The ministers, one by one, rose from their seats as they scribbled words of light and cast them into the ballot box. This room was lit in an array of colours as each minister sent their vote across the room. Shades of reds and blues, a dash of purple and some green, midnight black and snowfall white painted the hall until they rested in their prison as sealers of fate in a nation undecided. Enoch tapped the 2 small orbs, one to his right, the other to his left, and uttered the word,
Avslora.
The lights revealed themselves from both orbs, hovering above their resting place, waving airily until they etched their number in the openness of the air around them. Each light drew the number 50, and the hall inflated with an assortment of emotion. Many cheered and rejoiced as they believed they saved Avengler from war and destruction, while the others bowed their heads or cursed, for they feared war was to come either way, and to not be unprepared for it seemed foolish and arrogant. Enoch once more slammed his gavel to settle the room, and as the final knock hit the base, Yekaterina gave her mind on the matter.
How can you be so blind to the truth? She yelled. The signs of war are here, and only your Prime Minister can see this? Be warned, there will come a day when you look into the face of that man, she pointed to Enoch, and weep because you are too much of a coward to sacrifice everything when the Lord so rightly called for you to stand for good in the face of evil. When you see your friends and family dying in your streets, when you see your great plains turn to ash and your waterfall drip with blood, you will know that you failed not only your God, but yourselves. The winds are beginning to howl, sounding the alarm of wickedness that approaches. Go ahead and cover your ears to its sound and ignore the call to war, and hear the howls turn to cries of pain and death, with the Holle army standing at your door.
Yekaterina scratched her name on the treaty. The blood in her body ran red hot.
I have signed my name and made my pledge to you.
She paused to gather herself.
Heed my words and know if you summon us for aid, we will not answer your call. But sign this treaty and Yisra will be your friend, now and forever. May the Lord have mercy on us all.
She removed herself from the center of the hall and left the room with a face of sadness and anger. But inside her emotions swirled with despair and failure. As she stepped outside the ministry, her eyes watered as they hit the frigid, icy air, damming the tears she didn't want to shed.